Hello guys, welcome to my Photoshop beginner tutorial. My name is Yuval. I've been editing on Photoshop for over 5 years now. This class is open to everyone who wants to begin with Photoshop and everyone who wants to start learning how to use Photoshop. We will cover all the basic stuff you need to know to edit and create on Photoshop, such as how to interface, we'll learn effects, working with images, working with text, and essential tools. I can't wait to start already. I'll see you there. Today we're gonna focus on the very basics of Photoshop. This is the perfect guide for someone who just begun using Photoshop. Let's get started with learning the interface. Now, to make sure we're on the same page and all the stuff are open for you as mine as well, you want to go to Window, and then you want to go to Workspace, and you want to make sure the Essentials are default. Alright, which is basically gonna ensure that we have all the same features in the same screens. Alright, so now let's start create our first project or our new file. Let's go to File, then New, and this is basically the window that we're gonna do all the settings for the project. First of all, we can name this as I want. I'm gonna name this example for the tutorial's sake, and then the width and height. For now, we're gonna do 1920 by 1080, which is the basic. And then make sure you're always selected on pixels. All right. Now, it doesn't really matter what you're gonna do with the bit stuff. I'm gonna go with 16-bit. And we're gonna choose a white background. Make sure right here it's an RGB color, and you want to put the resolution on 72 for the start. And yeah, basically let's just click create, and it opens up the project, the white paper. So as you guys can see right here to the right, this is basically the layers tab. It shows us all the layers, all the elements, basically everything that is included in the project. So to first get started, we're gonna first of all unlock this layer, because when you create a new project, by default, the first layer is locked. So you want to click this lock right here, and you will unlock this layer. Now we can name this layer. You basically just double tap on the layer, and we can just call it background, because it's our white background for the projects. Another thing that is good for organizing is I would recommend to actually give a color to this layer. So in this time we're just gonna give it red. So you right click on this this right here, rectangle. You right click right here, and then you choose what color you want. I'm gonna go with red, and then you see this thing right here pops in red. So later on, while we're working, we'll have a lot of layers, so you kind of like can just give a color to each layer. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually learn the move tool. This tool right here at the left top corner is called the move tool. So let's go to this layer and just check this marked, and then go to the move tool and make sure it's checked. And as you guys can see, we can just move this white layer, which is our background, whenever we want and wherever we want. Also, this thing right here you see, those squares, it basically means it's transparent, which means if you render this project right now, you won't see this in the image. You just see this white stuff. All those stuff, it's transparent. You won't see it in the photo after you render it. So yeah, keep that in mind. Another thing you can do is basically undo stuff. If you did something by mistake, let's say I moved this thing right here, the best way to undo and just bring back everything as it was, is just clicking Control Z, and you see it just brings back the layer. I can take it down here and just Control Z. It's moving me one step back. Same thing. It goes with everything. Just for the tutorial's sake, you don't really have to do this. Basically we have to choose the layer. So just for the tutorial's sake, let's say we draw something, you click Control Z and you're back again. All right, so that's what it does. All right, So the first thing we're going to do is actually go down right here. You see this star shape, you just right click on that and then you choose the rectangle tool. So you right click on this thing and then rectangle tool. As you can see now, I get this little cursor tiny thing, and you can just hit and just hold the mouse button and just create this rectangle. You can just create a rectangle right here. If you guys want to change the rectangle color, you just go up here to fill and then you choose what color you want. Make sure if you choose white, the white rectangle will blend with the background, so you won't see it, but we'll choose black for now. Now if you want to move the rectangle, you have to make sure you're on the layer and you're going to the moving tool. From here you go over here and then you just click on it and you can just move it wherever you want. Now let's say we don't want to move it like too free. We don't want to move it and the rectangle to be free. We want to move it and we want to the rectangle to lock on. Okay, so what I mean by lock on, I will show you guys. If I move it right now, the rectangle moves wherever it wants. But if we go and let's say we want to move it vertically from here to here, but we don't want it to move too much to the side. So we click shift and then we drag it down, and no matter what, it will just go directly down. All right. Same thing with the sides. Shift, you hit shift and then you just drag it. So that's the way you guys can move stuff linearly. So it kind of like locks on the path of the rectangle. Now let's say we want to rotate this rectangle. You hit Control T and then you see those like lines. So basically you don't go over this rectangle, this tiny square right here. You go a bit outside and then you see you have like this cursor which shows you that you can rotate it. Same thing for over here. If you hit on this, you won't be able to rotate it. If you go above a little bit or right here even, you will be able to rotate it to right or left. Same thing for each one. Just stand pretty close to it and you'll be able to rotate it as much as you want. As you can see, guys, it's that simple. Just go a little bit over the lines of the rectangle and just choose which way you wanna rotate the rectangle. Now another thing, basically let's say you move the rectangle and you want to bring it back perfectly where it's been. You go right here above, you see this little sign right here, you double click and then you click 0 and it will come back as it was. Now let's talk about another thing. Let's say you guys just expanded the rectangle and you just don't want to do it. You just go right here over this button and you just hit this button and it will bring it back. Again, let's say you guys expanded it and you want to go back, you can basically just hit this thing and cancel what you just did. Now let's say you did some edits, sorry, and you edited it and you're basically happy with your edits and you don't want to cancel it. You can just click this check mark right here, or you can just literally click enter and it will just check it for whatever you want. So this is basically everything for interface for beginners. I hope you guys learned something new, and you can move on to my next lesson, which is about effects. Hope to see you there. Welcome to the second course. In this course we're gonna learn some new effects. So we're gonna drop a few effects on this rectangle, and let's start. So first thing, make sure you're selected on the rectangle on top. Now something important in the layer management. Let's say this is like higher priority. Let's say we want this rectangle to be under the background, you just drag it under it. And same thing, if you want to be above the background, you just drag it above it and boom. This is the higher priority or lower priority. If you will have more layers, you can just change between them. Basically, make sure the background is always on the bottom of everything, because you don't want the background to cover up everything you've made. And make sure the rectangle is above the background. Now let's say we want to add effects. As I said, we click on this rectangle layer and we go over here, effects, and we go to blending options. So this box is basically like a setting box, like effects box. They have all the effects that you can add for this rectangle. So the first thing we want to add is a drop shadow. Right here you click on this check mark, and then you click on the drop shadow text to go to the settings of the drop shadow. So as you can see, we can basically play with it. We can change the size. Make sure your opacity is in 75. You can even put it on 100, but I'll put it on 75. As you can see, what the drop shadow did is you have a little shadow behind the rectangle. So basically you can play with it now. Now you can just put the size on whatever you want. If you want a big shadow, you can put it like on 250, and you want a little tiny shadow, you can even put it on 60, above 60 or under 60, it doesn't matter. And the spread basically makes the shadow more solid. If you want it to be like more of a shadow, you just put it lower, and if you want it to be solid, you can just do it like, just take it a little bit higher. But I'll prefer to put it on like something like 30, which is, it looks perfect. Make sure you put the angle on 90, and the distance, you don't want to play with it too much, because it will move your shadow. You see the shadow moves right here, so you don't want to play with it too much. You just put it on the 0, which is the basic of the drop shadow. Now as you guys saw, we had a little nice effect right here. You can do it with everything. You can do it with text, with whatever you want. I'll teach that later within the next lessons. Now the next thing we can add is stroke. You can go over stroke, and we can add stroke. Basically it's like this line around the line around the rectangle. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, because it's black and it just blends with the rectangle. So we can change the color, and there you see it. You see this border right here? Basically you can change the size of it. You can put it really like covering almost the wall. You can cover the wall rectangle, but we don't want to do it. We just want a nice little stroke. So we can even put it like this. We can change the color. Let's say we want to put it this color, which actually blends pretty cool with the shadow behind. So yeah, we have a stroke right now that we added. You can even a little bit turn down the opacity so you can see lower, but within, if you get lower the opacity, you get it more white, and then eventually it will just disappear. So we want to keep it on 100 this time. What else can we do? We can do a bevel and emboss. Now this thing, bevel and emboss, it adds like a nice 3D thing, but basically you want to lower it down, slow it down for like 5, and it adds like a nice 3D show. You don't have to use it, but you can use it for many kinds of uses. Like text, you can do it bubble text or a 3D text, which is pretty cool. And yeah, you can just basically use it. It's going out pretty cool. We can also add a pattern overlay. You go over here, click the pattern overlay, and you can basically play with it for hours. You got like some kinds of overlays, pattern overlays that you can play with. I really like that one and that one. I'll go with that one for now. You can lower down the opacity if you want. I'll keep it 100, which pattern overlay is actually pretty cool. You could use it for actually stuff like rectangles and squares and stuff like this, because it will look really cool on you know, on geometries. Now next thing we can do, sorry about that, we can do an auto glow. We can go over here. Auto glow looks pretty lit. You basically, let's get the opacity to 100, and you can basically change the color within whatever you want. You got the default templates that Photoshop gave you. You can change whatever you want. I don't really want to use them right now, so we're gonna use something like, let's say we want like an aqua color, so we go right here, choose this one, and we can get a bit down the size. First thing, you can see the shadow behind and then the outer glow. And if you want, you are able to get down the opacity a little bit if you don't want it to get too strong. Then you can get the size a little bit up. You can literally play with it and do whatever you want with it. You can also edit on text, which looks really cool. So now we have this effect that you just can see like the shadow, the black shadow, and then you can see the blue outer glow, like really close to it, which is what we just did. So it looks pretty cool. So the outer glow is basically really familiar to the drop shadow, but it basically like it's pretty much glows, and you can choose whatever color you want. So that's pretty cool. It's not like giving it a shadow; it's giving it a glow, which is different than shadow. Yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Now, cool thing we can do is actually change the color. You go over color overlay and you change it to whatever you want. Just click the color right here and you can change it to be white. You can change it to be whatever color you just want it to be. Now, we chose black at the start, so we don't need to change the color really much, or you just uncheck that. So yeah, we got satin, which makes it just a little bit darker, as you can see. It can look pretty cool. We can just get down the opacity and keep it like this. We got inner glow, which is like outer glow, which is from the inside of the rectangle. Same thing for the inner shadow, which is just like the inside shadow, like the outside, just from the inside. We don't want to do it for now. We don't need it. Now, gradient overlay. This is a cool tool we can use. Basically, essentially, gradient overlay is a color mixed gradient color. It looks really good on the rectangle when we put it like this right now. You can choose basically from the defaults of that Photoshop gives you. You can choose this, you can choose whatever you want. Actually, the white one, I really love this one. We can maybe take down the opacity. I think that will look really good actually if we turn down the opacity 100, so you guys can play with it. I will just uncheck it right now because I want to keep our pattern overlay that we used before. So those are basically the effects, the essential effects. We got a lot of effects right here. I didn't use all of them, but I explained on each one. They're very easy to use. They're very basic. Again, how we open them, you can basically go to the rectangle and you can right click and then go right here both to the blending options, and it will get you to the same spot. Or you can choose the rectangle and you click right here and then you click blending options, which will take you to the effects too. So we are done with the effects. Hope you guys did learn something new from this lesson. Make sure you move on to the next lesson. There we're gonna learn how to work with images finally. Welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we're gonna work with images. So first thing, you're gonna wanna go to the internet and download an image you loved, just for the sake of the tutorial, so you can actually practice on it. So after you basically downloaded your photo, you go to File, Open, and then you search your photo right here. Double click on it, and it should just pop up in a new window like that for you. So you have like these windows right here. You just click on that window, and you're supposed to see the image. So basically, I chose a new photo because the last one was a bit tiny and I didn't want it to pixel. So let's get right into it. As you can see right here, it says 50% to the left corner. It means like it zooms 50% of the image. If we go 100%, for example, it zooms inside the picture 100%. All right, and if you click Control minus one time, second time, third time, and then you can just Control plus to zoom in. So Control minus to zoom out and Control in to zoom in. So we're gonna just keep it like that. So basically, let's say we want to duplicate something. So we're gonna Control plus and zoom in pretty much to the thing we want to duplicate. Let's say I want to duplicate this let's say this fingernail right here, or whatever it is. I want to duplicate it. So we want to zoom in right into it, and then we have this scroll right here. So we're just scrolling right here, and we can just keep zooming in. That's it. So basically we want to choose it right now. So you go right here to the lasso tool right here, you click it, and we just want to start marking it. We're basically going to do a sloppy job right here, but you just try your best to just mark it. You know, you can control over it too much with your mouse, but just do your best to mark it as much as you can. Oops, there we go. Got it. And then we connected both of them, and then you can see it connected between the lasso, and you can see those like little lines right here. It means it like you chose the part inside the border. Now that we've done that, we can zoom back out to look at the full image, and you can see the fingernail right here, or whatever it is marked. We marked it. Now before we duplicate it, let's do the same thing with that background. You hit this lock right here and you unlock it, because you cannot work too much on the layer if you want to unlock the background. So make sure you do it with every background you get. As we said, we can double click the name and name it background as last time, so we know this is the background. Now the next thing you want to do is to make sure you're standing on that layer, and you want to do Control C, then Control V. All right. So once we've done that, you guys can see we have two layers right here. One layer is the fingernail by herself that we just pulled out, and one layer is the background. Now we can hide layers by clicking this eyeball right here. If you click the background eyeball, you will see that layer right here. Basically, the opacity is down because I probably click on it not on purpose. Anyways, we have this fingernail that we marked just right now from the wall background. You can return it back by clicking the eyeball again, and then we have the background again. Now if you want, you can just put the background above, but we want to keep it under. Now we have this fingernail that we just pulled out right here. It's a duplicate of this thing right here. Now you guys just got the fingernail right here, and you can just basically play with the project. So let's say we want to duplicate it and do something cool with it in the project. So you can do like you got like two fingernails over here, so you can just space it right here and make it look like you have two. Anyway, you can just pull it out if you want. So once we choose the spot where we want the fingernail to be, we just click enter or OK, and we keep going. Now remember the effects lesson, guys, that I taught you. We can add some effects to the fingernail. So we go effects, and we can add some effects. What we can add drop shadow to the fingernail. Now you can see it's a bit with a drop shadow. You can get it down a little bit, and this one can put it on like 40, even a little bit under. Now it looks pretty cool. We can add auto glow right here. We can actually put it like red, because I don't know, it looks pretty cool. It blends cool with the image. You can even put like on a bit lighter red. Now we can put it on 40. And the spread, we're gonna take it a bit down. The opacity we're gonna put it on 100 because it looks pretty cool. It's like glowing. It's like a neon thing, which blends really cool with the picture. You can put it a bit down, but it blends really cool with the picture, so it looks really cool. So we're done with the effects. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add an adjustment layer. So we're gonna mess around with the exposure and all of these stuff. I'm gonna show you that right now. So the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna go to layer, and then we're gonna go to new adjustment layer. The first thing we want to do is brightness and contrast. Sorry. So we're gonna add this one. You can just name it like this. Now basically you have the adjustment layer here. Now the adjustment layer is basically an editing layer. It's not a solid layer that you can actually see. It's like an editing visuals layer. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take up the contrast a little bit. You see it getting a bit darker, which looks pretty cool, but we don't want to do it too much. And if you take down the contrast, it takes it a little bit lighter. So we want to put it above a little bit, so it gives like a cool shadow effect. Let's put it on 40. It will look good on 40. And the brightness we can take up too, because it blends really good with the contrast. We'll put it on 32, which looks really good. You can play with it and do whatever you want. You can do tons of stuff with it. Too much brightness don't look very good in my opinion, but if you put it a little bit brightness with a little bit of contrast, so it can look really dope. So if you want to know how it looked before the adjustment layer and after the adjustment layer, we just go to this eyeball and you just click on it. So you see it's a bit darker, but if you click on the adjustment layer, we gave it a little bit more lightening in the middle and a bit darker outside, so it gives this cool effect for the image. So we're gonna have another adjustment layer. We're gonna go to layer, new adjustment layer, and we're gonna go to levels. Click OK again. So in levels, there's like actually a lot of presets. You can mess around with it over here, but we're actually gonna choose a preset. So we can choose from the presents. So this is like basically an easy way to make your project, to give it like a cool change from the side angle. So let's say you want it darker, boom, you got it darker. You want it to increase contrast. It doesn't do that much, but it did increase the contrast. You want to you got tons of way. Actually, this one looks pretty good, but we need a bit more lightning, so I'm not gonna use this one. Light and shadows. This one is really light. It actually just disappeared all the shadows we put, so we don't want that one. We got midtones brighter and midtone darker. So I'm gonna go with the midtone brighter because I think it looks really good and blends good with the image. It just gives it more sharpness in the very hot color spots. It looks pretty good. I like it. You guys can just play around with it and just make your image look really dope with it. Now let's say we want another fingernail like this one, exactly right over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the layer of the fingernail, which is this one. You see, if they disappear, the fingernail will disappear. You click on it and then click Control J, which actually creates a copy. Let's name it fingernail. And this one, let's name it fingernail 2. So we know it's actually the copy. We just click on the first one, and we have a duplicate right now. We can just take it, we can Control T and then just adjust it. As we said, we can just rotate it and we can put it right over here if you want, and then you have like 4 fingernails, which can look pretty good. If you do want, you can just take the lasso tool and actually get this fingernail from here and just copy it over here, so it won't look the same one over here, so it'll look like this one, and you can just duplicate it over here. But I don't find it necessary because I already teach you guys how to do it, so you can do it by yourself and just try many ways to duplicate whatever you want with the lasso tool. You can just mark it from the around and just can Control C and then Control V and then just duplicate the layer. And now, since it's a bit dark, we want it to be dark, but we don't want it to be too much dark. So we go to the layer and we go to the new adjustment layer and we add another adjustment layer which is called exposure, which gives it a little bit more lightening. You can get a bit more exposure. You see, okay, that hurt my eyes, but you can give it more exposure. Like if you take it up, the lightning just goes up. And if you take it down, that's what happens. So we're gonna take it a bit down, a bit up. We don't want all the darkness to disappear, but we do want a little bit of lightning. So we're gonna put it like, let's say 17, and then we can play with the offset. With the offset, I don't want to play too much because it just don't look really good with the offset. So we're gonna put it on 0, and the gamma correction a little bit just darkness. It just like the hot colors, it just pops them really out, so it can look really good if we do it at the right way. So I'm actually gonna get it a little bit. I'm gonna put it on 87. It actually pops all the red colors, as you can see, and it looks really good, so I'm gonna keep it like that. Now another adjustment layer I really want to work with, it's probably not gonna be necessary in this specific type of image, but it will be very necessary. I found it very helpful with lots of other projects I did. So you go to new adjustment layer and then you go to hue saturation, click on it, click OK, and then you see right here you get the hue stuff. You don't want to mess around too much with the saturation and the lightness. You want to you can just play with the colors. So now every color just change to its opposite one. Let's say we take it to the left a little bit. All the colors are changing. You can see it. It just looks amazing in some kinds of photos. It can look really cool in this one too, but we don't want to change it too much, so we can go to the right side also. And this one, actually this one looks really dope when you put it like on the orange one. This one looks cool too. I really like this one, so I'm going to keep it as this one. So as you guys can see, it keeps the colors really sharp and it doesn't really lose too much of the image, and it just keeps it really cool and clean, so I like it. That's why the hue saturation looks really good, so you can actually play with it. If actually I can put the orange one, which actually can look much better than the original one. That's why I say you can use this tool for so many purposes. I'm actually going to stay with the orange. It looks really cool. It really pops out the color and I really like it, so we're going to stay with it. So yeah, this is basically all the adjustment layers, and we just edited a photo, guys. We had a hue saturation, we added an exposure, levels, brightness, and contrast. We duplicated the fingernails twice, and we actually changed a little bit the colors of the background. So that was pretty cool. If you guys learned something new, let me know about it. Let's move to the next lesson. There we're gonna learn to work with some text, which is really important if you wanna make a bunch of stuff with text, so you can actually say something to everyone that watching it. So we're gonna move to the next lesson and we're gonna learn about text. See you there. Welcome to the last lesson in the Photoshop beginner class. I'm really glad to see you here, guys. We come this far. This is the last lesson that you need to know to actually maximize your knowledge about Photoshop. And this lesson is about text. Let's get right into it. So the Photoshop text tool is right here. You go and there's this T letter and you just click on it. Let's go ahead and click on it and then just choose a random location on the screen. Let's say right here. And then you can choose your font, which basically you just go right here and just click on this little arrow and you just can scroll through the fonts and choose whatever you like. I'll stay with my normal one, the one I downloaded. You can download fonts through the internet, which is really easy. And let's say I'll type the word dragon in this really cool font. Now we can move it with the move tool. You can just click on the letter, you can just move it, and now we have another text layer right here. You can move it with Control T. We can actually size it up. Now, if you want to size it up, but we don't want to mess it up, we gotta click Shift and then do it. Like if you want to click Shift, what will happen is this thing. We will just get it really stretchy and annoying, and it won't look good. So you just click Shift and then you just get it really solid, and nothing will get ruined on the way. So you can just center it right over here. That will look good. We'll put it right here. So we can really mess around with the text options as we do normally. We go to the effects, blending options. Now we can basically blend mode and put it on overlay. If you put it on overlay, you get the text really like merging with the image. It can look really cool. If you get it down a little bit, it will just disappear, but you can actually just put it on overlay and it can look really cool. It's not that type right now for me because you just barely will see the text. You can put it on darken. You won't see actually these modes right here on this specific image. This one is color dodge. It takes the color from the image and just does a cool effect with it. We got some kinds of stuff right here. You can just choose whatever you want. This one is cool too. I think I'll go with the color dodge because it just really mixes with the background. So yeah, this effect is really cool. We can also add some drop shadow. We don't want it to be too strong. We just want it a little bit. It will spice the text up a little bit. Looks really awesome. Outer glow. If I'll do outer glow, I'll do it really low because I don't want it to ruin the wall thing. Also, we can do it in like orange, so it will merge up with the photo. So that looks pretty cool. Just put a little bit. That looks pretty cool. Now we're gonna move on to the next thing. So we're finished with the text, guys. You can basically do whatever you want with it. You can add more settings and more effects to it. But pretty much it looks really cool. You can just adjust it however you want. You can make it bigger if you want. You can put it right over here. Now it doesn't look really good because when we made it smaller, it just merged really cool with the background. So I'm gonna keep it like this. I can do basically whatever you want. It's really easy to create text. You can even create another text whenever you automatically click the text, and then you click on the screen. It automatically will pop up a new layer, and then you can click whatever you want. You can type in example, and then just hit the mark, and then you can move it around whenever you want, wherever you want. We have a different font right now, and you have another layer right here. You can also always uncheck the layer that you've made, and that's it, guys. This is the text lesson. You can literally add whatever text you want. It's really easy. You can again go to the blending options, and you can add inner glow if you want. You can add inner shadow. You can add stroke on text. Looks really good, depends on how you do it. Add some stroke, see it right here. You can add whatever you want, guys. Just play with the effects, and I promise you'll get a good result. So that was the last lesson. I hope you guys loved it. If you did love the class, you can share it up with other of your friends. I hope you did learn some new stuff, guys, because I did put a lot of time on this class. I really hope you liked it, guys. That's the beginner Photoshop guide. You have all the knowledge you need to know to actually start and create content and thumbnails and images and whatever you want to design. Thank you for everybody that have been with me in all the lessons. Love you all, guys, and I'll see you in my next class.